I used to love the bus ride home from school. I know that sounds weird. Most kids hated it. But for me, it was the transition, that soft middle place between the stress of school and the comfort of home. I'd sit by the window, earbuds in, forehead against the cool glass, watching the world blur past in golden afternoon light. Same roads, same houses, same routine, until that one day. It was late October, about a week before Halloween. I was 15, a sophomore. The air had just started turning crisp, and everyone at school was in that half-distracted mood, thinking more about costumes and candy than homework. It had rained that morning, but by afternoon the sky was clear and washed out, the trees all fire-colored and backlit. The bus ride started like normal. I remember waving goodbye to my friend Rachel as she hopped off at her stop near the park. 2 more turns, then my street. I always got off 4th from last, right before a stretch of woods that marked the outer edge of our neighborhood. The bus stopped. The doors opened. I stepped off. And something was wrong. It wasn't obvious at first. Just off. The air smelled different, sweet and metallic, almost like burning leaves and rust. The light was dimmer too, like the sun had dropped behind a thick cloud, even though the sky was still blue. And the houses, they looked like mine. Same layout, same spacing, but every detail was just slightly wrong. The colors were duller. The paint looked older. Some of the windows were boarded up. A few front yards had dead, brittle grass instead of the usual patchy green. And it was silent. No dogs barking, no wind in the trees, no distant lawnmower or TV noise leaking out of open windows. Just dead heavy quiet. I turned to look at the bus, thinking maybe I'd just gotten off at the wrong stop. Maybe I'd zoned out and missed mine. But the bus was gone, not pulling away down the street. Just gone. No taillights, no sound, no fading roar of the engine. 1 second it had been there, and the next it wasn't, like it had blinked out of existence. I stood there frozen for a full minute. Backpack slung over one shoulder, phone in hand. That's when I noticed the street sign. It said Mayfield Lane, my street. But the letters were crooked, the green faded almost to gray. Someone had scratched deep lines through the word Mayfield, like they'd tried to erase it. I should have called my mom, or run to the nearest house and knocked, or screamed. But I didn't. Instead, like an idiot, I walked home. The number on the mailbox was the same, 12 on 74. The porch was familiar too. Same cracked tile on the corner step. Same crooked screen door. But the front door was open, not wide, just slightly ajar, like someone had forgotten to close it all the way. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at the darkness beyond. I could feel the cold air leaking out, smelled something faintly rotting inside, like spoiled fruit and wet carpet. Then I heard it, a voice, soft, familiar, calling from deeper inside the house. "Sweetie, is that you?" My mom's voice. Except not. It was slower, duller, like someone trying to remember how she sounded, like someone trying too hard to sound like her. I stepped back, and the voice called again. "Come inside, you're going to catch a cold." The hallway light flicked on, even though I hadn't touched a switch. That's when I saw the shadow. It moved across the end of the hall, tall and jerky, like it didn't have the right number of joints. It disappeared into the kitchen. I ran. I didn't look back, just sprinted across the yard, around the side of the house, and into the woods behind our neighborhood. I didn't stop until my lungs were on fire and the trees grew thick enough to block out what little light remained. I sat on the ground, shaking, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Then I pulled out my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no battery percentage, just a black bar where it should be, and the time? 3:13 p.m., frozen. It wouldn't move no matter how long I waited. That's when I heard the crunch of leaves. Something was walking toward me. I held my breath. Another crunch, closer. Then a shape moved through the trees. Not fast, not loud, just approaching. On 2 legs, but wrong, like its knees bent the wrong way. I stood up and ran again, crashing through underbrush until I found a narrow trail. I followed it, praying it would lead me somewhere, anywhere, that wasn't here. It did, kind of. The trail opened into another street. More houses, more mailboxes, but older, more decayed, like they'd been abandoned for decades. I passed one mailbox that said 1274 again. Same as mine. I stopped, looked at the house. It was my house. The same house, same cracked tile, same screen door. But this one was even worse than the last. The windows shattered, the siding half ripped away, the yard overgrown with black vines. And in the window? A figure. It stared at me. Then it smiled. Not a friendly smile, not even a human one. Just teeth, too many, too long, and it waved. I never liked high school. Not because of the classes or even the social pressure. I just never felt like I fit. Like I was walking through a building designed for someone else. Even though I had friends, even though I did okay in class, something about East Granger High just felt wrong. It's hard to explain. The halls were too quiet during class. The ceilings dripped even when it hadn't rained. There was this smell, a mix of bleach and old wood and something metallic, that never quite went away. But it wasn't until junior year that things got bad. It started on a Wednesday. I remember because I had chemistry first period, and we were doing some kind of lab with vinegar and baking soda that made the whole classroom smell like feet. When I went to my locker, number 392, the one I'd had since freshman year, and it was empty, completely empty. No books, no folders, no hoodie, not even the half-eaten granola bar I'd shoved in there last week. At first I thought maybe it was a prank. We'd had some seniors do that last year. Break into random lockers, move everything 2 lockers over. Real funny? But when I looked closer, I realized this wasn't a joke. The inside of the locker was spotless. Not just clean, sterile, like it had been scrubbed down with bleach. Even the small dent in the back wall, the one I'd made with my math textbook, sophomore year, was gone. And sitting in the middle, on the top shelf, was a folded piece of paper. Lined notebook paper, torn edges. Folded once, neatly. I looked around. No one was watching me. The hall was mostly empty. I took the note and opened it. Inside, written in shaky, all-caps pencil, "Don't go to 5th period." That's it. No name, no explanation. Just that one sentence. My first thought was Sarah, my best friend since middle school. She loved creepy stuff. True crime, unsolved mysteries, urban legends. She once snuck into the old elementary school across town just to take a photo in the abandoned principal's office. It felt like something she'd do. A weird prank. A spooky joke. But when I found her at lunch and waved the note in her face, she looked genuinely confused. "Dude, I swear I didn't do this. That's actually kind of creepy." Then she laughed, tried to play it off. But I could tell. Something about it unsettled her too. "5th period is gym, right?" she asked. I nodded. "Then maybe skip it. What's the worst that happens? You get a tardy?" 5th period came, and against my better judgment, I went to class anyway. Gym was in the back building, in a weird, standalone structure they added in the '80s. It always smelled like rubber and mildew. The walls were cinder block, and the windows were way too high to see out of. We were doing indoor soccer, teams of 5. I got thrown onto a team with 3 freshmen and a senior who never spoke. 15 minutes into the game, something weird happened. The lights flickered, just for a second, barely long enough for anyone else to notice. But when they came back on, everything felt off. The gym was too quiet. The echo was wrong. My teammates weren't moving. They were just standing there, frozen in place, staring at the far corner of the gym, the part that was always in shadow, just beneath the rafters. I turned. There was something up there. Not a person, not exactly. More like a shape. Long, thin, pale. It moved like it was hanging upside down, like it had no bones. I could see its arms, or legs, or whatever they were, bending the wrong way. Its head tilted once, then again. Like it was looking for someone, and then it dropped, straight into the shadow. Gone, just like that. I blinked, and suddenly the noise came rushing back. Whistles, sneakers on wood, shouting. Everyone was moving again, laughing, playing, like nothing had happened. I didn't say a word. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the rafters, that thing, the way it moved, like it had been waiting for something. When I finally drifted off around 2 a.m., I dreamed I was back in the gym. Alone, lights off. That same shape crouched in the corner, whispering my name. The next morning, I went straight to my locker. Still empty. Another note. This one said, "You shouldn't have gone." Over the next few days, the notes kept coming. It's all you. Don't let it follow you home. Stay away from the gym after dark. By then, I was barely sleeping, barely talking. Sarah noticed. She said I looked pale, tired, like one of those kids in horror movies right before they get dragged into a vent. Funny, except it didn't feel like a joke anymore. One Friday afternoon, I stayed after school to help set up for the fall dance. Sarah was on the decorating committee and guilt-tripped me into helping with streamers and balloons. Around 6:15, I realized I'd left my phone in the locker room, in the gym. The sun was setting, the halls were empty, and I knew I shouldn't go back. But I did. The gym was dark when I entered. No lights, just the faint glow of sunset through the high windows. I made it to the locker room. My phone was there, sitting on the bench. And next to it, a note. Folded neat, waiting. Hands shaking, I opened it. It's already inside. The door slammed behind me, and from the far end of the locker room, from inside one of the dark, narrow showers, I heard something breathing. Not like a person, more like a mimicry of breathing, like something trying to remember how lungs worked. I ran. Didn't stop until I was outside. I left the building, left the school, didn't even go to the dance. I never told anyone what I saw, what I felt, but I never went back to the gym again. Faked an injury for the rest of the semester. No one asked questions. And the notes? They stopped after that night. Until last week. I'm in college now, different city, new start. But when I opened my dorm mailbox on Monday, there was a letter, no return address. Inside was a single piece of lined paper. Familiar handwriting, one sentence. It knows where you are. I remember choosing to stay late that afternoon. It was a Tuesday in early November, and the sky was that dull gray you only get in the Pacific Northwest this time of year. The office where I interned for the school newspaper had asked me to photograph the empty art rooms. Some kind of feature on creative spaces at Eastwood High. I'd just finished editing my photos and realized I needed one more shot, the ceramic studio. It was tucked in the far back hall, down corridors that hardly anyone used. I grabbed my camera bag and headed out. The building felt empty, echoing even though it was only 6 o'clock. The classrooms ended at 5. The fluorescent lights were off in the main corridors. Emergency exit signs dimly glowed. My footsteps clicked against the linoleum floor. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. I paused at the threshold of the ceramic studio door. The sign said Room 211A, Ceramics and Sculpture. The door was cracked open, slatted light from the street lamps cutting through the darkness. I felt a soft hum, like the click of a highlighter, coming from inside. I assumed someone else was just heading out late. Hey, hello? No response. I pushed the door open farther. The hum stopped. I flicked on my flashlight and stepped in. The room was empty. Drying pottery wheels, tables covered with plastic, dried clay footprints here and there, buckets of glaze, and in the center, where I'd planned to shoot, stood a lone easel with a single sheet of charcoal sketch paper on it. My camera pinged. I shifted my flashlight and saw the sketch. It was me. Not a photoreal self-portrait, but enough. Long hair behind my shoulder, the curve of my jaw. The kind of image anyone could draw in 10 seconds. But still, I stepped forward. The hum returned, like cloth rubbing or static. I scanned the room empty. Then I realized my camera was now taking pictures, even though I hadn't pressed anything. My lens cap was still on. I ran my hand over the button, confirmed it wasn't recording. But the tally light blinked, 3 shots taken. I shook my head and turned to leave, and froze. Behind me, on the back wall, someone had scrawled in clay slurry, "We're still here." The words dripped, wet and fresh. I backed out, heart slamming. I ran down the hallway, camera bag slapping my hip. I didn't breathe until I slammed the door to the newspaper office behind me. No one was there, thank God. I shut off my flashlight, dropped my bag, and looked at my phone. 6:10 p.m., my 3 remaining photos had timestamps at 5:59, 6:04, 6:06, but I didn't take them. I stared at the first one. It was dark, the ceramic studio door, and me in mid-frame, blurry like I'd been there for seconds. The second photo, same corridor, empty. The third photo drove a chill down my spine. Dark corridors converging in a corner, and a tall shadow at the join, Sharper than darkness, almost humanoid. I sat on the floor and tried not to panic. I sent the photos to Sarah, the photographer on the school newspaper. She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. I told her I was sweating and out of excuses. She texted, "Coffee in half an hour?" I didn't answer. Instead, I deleted the image with the figure. I pretended nothing happened that night. I got to class the next day looking tired. My friends teased me for sleeping in. Sarah asked if I wanted to redo the photos. I told her I'd turned in everything, which I had, except that there was one image I couldn't delete. Room 211A had a security camera. I found out because Principal Harris caught me on my third run, sprinting down the hall at 6:07. I copped to staying late. He was, understanding, oddly. "Just don't," he said, then nodded toward the camera feed on his office monitor. Someone had alerted him. Maybe a custodian, maybe someone else. The camera had spotted movement. 2 shapes. Then nothing. Then me. He showed it to me, grayscale, time-stamped footage. It showed me heading down the hall, breathing fast, light bouncing off my face. And then beside me, at the exact midway mark, appears a tall, dark form. No edges. Not a person. Just a distortion. It moves with me, steps in stride, and stays on pace, not trailing me, not ahead, beside. It only stayed for 4 frames, then slipped away into the darkness. I blinked. He said quietly, "We didn't get it on audio, but something was there." That afternoon, papers scattered on my desk. I sat sweating. I couldn't explain it. Not just the studio, but the message, the cameras, the shadow in the hall. I texted Sarah, "Stay out of room 211A," then left my phone on the desk and walked away. That night I tossed and turned. The message kept echoing through my mind. We're still here. And whoever "we" was, they were either taking me alive or wanted me gone. At 2 a.m. I woke up to my name. Soft whisper, "You're still here," drifted across my bedroom. There was no sound on my phone. No door open, no curtains moving, just cold air and a knock in my chest. I didn't sleep anymore. On Thursday, I skipped school. I stayed in bed, didn't open the blinds, never left. But by 4 p.m., I was too afraid to stay inside. I walked the dog until the streetlights flickered on, drank too much coffee, then went back to school after dark, into the parking lot. Something was off. The school was empty except for a single custodian at the front office. Everyone else long gone. I slipped inside. Fluorescent lights off. Emergency lanes glowing. Heart-beating rhythm. I made it to the corridor. No one. Then I heard clay grind on tile. I flicked on a floor lamp I'd pressed a maintenance key to access. It illuminated halfway to the studio. Dark beyond. I crept in. The easel was gone. The slurry message gone. Only the tables. Molds turned over, wheels. And in the corner, a single photo taped to the wall. It was me, in a hoodie, marching down the hallway from my phone's fisheye camera. Same shot. Timestamp, 6:07:04 p.m. Wednesday. Below it, someone had written in wet clay, "Still with you." I vomited. I ran. I didn't sleep again after that night. I didn't go home either. I stayed with Sarah, camped in her living room. She tried calming me, but she knew. On Saturday, we decided to delete the backups from my phone. She brought the copy of my images. We scrolled to the hall photo. It was empty again. No hoodie. No me? We stared. Then the screen flicked to the slate of 3 original images. The one with me third-person view. But that was gone now. Open digital garbage file. But the hallway photo was back. I swear the timestamp shifted. 6:07 p.m. Thursday. Same corridor, same fisheye warp. But no me. Just the same dot of distortion, same shadow. And then Sarah, she sighed. "Next week's picture day. You'll have a photo ID. They're going to pull you from class, maybe not show it, maybe warn you." I didn't respond. Sunday morning, I woke in her room and realized the screen had changed again. It was the same fisheye hall shot. Stairs, doors, polished tiles. Timestamp 6:07 a.m. Sunday. And, on the wall next to the copier room door, I saw something I'd only seen in my waking nightmares. A pair of eyes. Black orbs, smiling faintly in the camera image. Something was really still here. I left. College applications. A letter from Eastwood High. A release contract from the district. A no-contact agreement with Principal Harris. Every morning I wake up with my phone off. I turn it on in a coffee shop somewhere else. I walk past school buses and skip the hallways forever. But sometimes at 6:07 my phone buzzes like I just got a ping. When I scroll the camera roll, the fisheye shot is back. Empty hallway. Timestamp 6:07. No meat. No shadow. Just eyes.